Ghost of Tsushima is an amazing last exclusive for the PS4 and a fantastic open-world samurai epic from developer Sucker Punch. Although just a tiny bit slow to start, once this game gets going, it will grab you by the balls and never let go. With its diverse combat systems, memorable characters, compelling story, and incredible production value, Ghost of Tsushima deserves to join not only the upper echelon of open world games, but the top tier exclusive that Sony has put out this generation. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. Ghost of Tsushima is one of those titles that you will be thinking about when you're not playing it, and when you are playing it, you will constantly be enthralled and excited. I have a lot to say about this game.
Now, you're gonna hear about it.
So here's my review for Ghost of Tsushima! The year is 1274, a time when the Mongolians just started to invade Japan.
Hello, Mongolian!
You play as a samurai named Jin Sakai, and it is your duty to fight off the invasion on a small island called Tsushima. That's pretty much the plot in a nutshell. On paper, the plot seems pretty one note, because it is. But the way that the story is crafted and told kept me very much engaged for most of the 35 hours or so it took me to beat the game. Everything from treachery to kidnapping to meaningful friendships to the contemplation of what is honorable or not, Ghost of Tsushima has some pretty powerful moments which will make you rethink what is right and what is wrong. You see, the samurai has a certain honorable code to live by, but the Mongolians don't.
I hate a Mongolian!
The Mongolians fight dirty and they don't give two shits about honor. So Jin has to make that decision of breaking the samurai code and fight on the Mongolians' level to gain the upper hand, or watch as people continuously get ordered to walk into a slaughter. So while Jin still uses the way of the samurai, he also takes the path of the ghost, which employs tactics such as stealth, poison, and deception. And of course there are samurai that disagree with his methods, but there's no other way to defeat the Mongolians, but Jin would rather stoop to their level than lose everything and sacrifice the lives of his people. Ghost of Tsushima is very serious. You will rarely see anyone laughing, having fun, or being silly. Everyone sticks to their mission or task at hand and are willing to sacrifice their own lives for the greater good. And of course, throughout your adventure, you will be accompanied by a band of supporting characters, such as Sensei Ichikawa, an archery master, Ryozu, your childhood best friend, Lord Shiruma, Jin's uncle and father figure who trained Jin in the way of the samurai, and it's also the Lord of Tsushima, appointed by the shogunate. But my favorite character in the whole game has to be Yuna. She's a thief who saves Jin's life and ends up becoming an invaluable friend throughout the whole game. All of the supporting characters have compelling strings of side quests to further develop them and give more context to their motives, and is highly recommended completing alongside the main story quests. And these side quests also typically reward you with a useful piece of armor or cool looking skin for your sword. Speaking of items and armor, Ghost of Tsushima is not a loot based game. You will be using the same swords and bows for the whole game and will be swapping out armor for whatever the situation calls for. Because each of the armor pieces have very different and useful perks or buffs attached to them. One can buff your attack, while another can buff your defense. There are also some more unique perks attached to certain armor that I won't spoil. You will also collect resources to upgrade your weapons and armors in towns, which will not only increase their stats, but change their appearance as well. There are a ton of skins you could get for not only your sword, but for your armor as well, and they all look so badass. Another way to further customize your loadout is by equipping charms, which also provide some sort of perk, like health regen, or the chance to get an arrow back after shooting it. One thing that's a shame though, and frankly a little mind-boggling, is that with the vast diversity of all the armor and cosmetics, there's no option to set loadouts. I was constantly, and I mean constantly, swapping out armor for not only the situation, but oftentimes just simply because I wanted to look different. Because I'm telling you, all of these sets look fantastic. Speaking of looking fantastic, this game is downright breathtaking to look at.
You're breathtaking!
In fact, I captured a ton of footage for this game, and I am having a really hard time trying to decide what I should use, because literally every minute of this game is absolutely beautiful. With a deliberate, almost non-existing HUD, combined with jaw-dropping lighting, a day and night cycle, weather system, and oftentimes beautiful spanning vistas, Ghost of Tsushima is one of the best looking, if not the best looking console game this generation. There's nothing like riding around on your horse and 1 minute going from a clear day with colorful leaves floating around to the next minute riding around a stormy grayed out swamp. It's cinematic, it's deliberate, and it's a visual feast. It also has a fantastic photo mode that is super fun to play with. There are a ton of options to fiddle with. For example, I turn this into that, and that into this. Pretty neat stuff. Now I must admit, the first bunch of hours of the game I wasn't sold on it, because there are a lot of skill trees in this game, and it's not until when you unlock most of it, you feel like you have a diverse repertoire of options available to take out your enemies. But I'm telling you, if you stick with it, it really pays off. Because once you charge into a Mongolian camp, backstab one guy, throw 3 kunais at other guys, followed by a sticky bomb, then stun the rest of the mob, shoot some explosive arrows, then sweet chin music the last guy off the edge of a cliff, you really do feel like a samurai badass. You also eventually get 4 stances, which allows you to break an enemy's posture much quicker and go for the death blow. Each stance will counter each enemy type. Your sword guys, your shield guys, your spear guys, and your brutes. You could use any stance on the archers because they're little bitches at close range anyway. And of course you can parry. And landing a perfect parry can leave your enemy open for a death blow. Switching your stances on the fly, combined with item usage, makes for some really interesting battles. You also have the option to engage in a standoff when you first enter most camps, where it's the samurai's version of a Mexican standoff. With the right upgrades, you can eventually kill 5 guys right off the bat with a badass slow motion animations and cool looking blood splatters. The stealth, on the other hand, has a bit more to be desired. It's your very basic, hide in the bushes and stab a guy in the back. And if you get caught, you could just run away and hide in the bushes till the enemies lose their aggro. Because apparently every single enemy in any stealth game has Alzheimer's and doesn't care that they were just attacked by the most wanted man in Tsushima who's trying to kill their leader. Yes, the AI is really dumb in this game. For me though, it didn't really matter, because by the latter half of the game, stealth wasn't really an option due to the fact that I could take out a mob head on, badass samurai style, in a fraction of the time it did to do it stealthy. Regardless of my approach, I had a blast every second I was playing Ghost of Tsushima. One thing that I have to mention though is that there's no lock-on. I'm assuming that it's because they wanted the flow of the battle to smoothly go from one enemy to the next, kinda like the Arkham games, but I still think it was an odd choice, because more times than I'd like for it to happen, I would focus on somebody that I didn't want to. It didn't happen enough to become really annoying, but definitely noticeable. And the camera is also really slow, even on its fastest setting. So if you wanted to see what was going on behind you, it was a drag to get the camera there, rather than just say locking onto someone and the camera swooping behind you right away. It's a little nitpicky, but still noticeable. Even with the camera on the fastest setting, it still took a long time to move. Okay, one more little nitpick now. You can't skip dialogue or cutscenes. Now most of the time I didn't want to, except for when I was liberating camps. Just because you have to rescue peasants in most of them, and every time that you untie one, there's a 10-second dialogue of them thanking you which you can't skip. This may not seem annoying, but it can be when you're just going around liberating camps and you have to sit through this dialogue 3 times every camp. Same goes with some of the more mundane side quests. I don't care to hear a nameless NPC halfway through the game telling me about the hot springs that I should be visiting, which I've already been doing since the beginning. Another thing that needs to be mentioned is the music. The score for this game is contextually appropriate for everything that you do. From the relaxing flute melodies as you trot through a beautiful vista, to the heavy beating war drums while you're in the middle of a big battle, the music is just impeccable. Ghost of Tsushima is a wonderful send-off for the PS4 and sets a new standard for future titles for the next generation. If you are interested at all in this game, I would highly recommend it. Ghost of Tsushima is well worth your money. And that's why this game deserves a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. If you liked the video, consider subscribing, and have a fantastic day.